live. Welcome back, everyone, to Friday Morning Fuel. I'm Coach Matt, your wellness coordinator for your Exos team. Today we've got a quite array of things to cook today. So it is January. Today is or this week, I guess, is a big week for a lot of people. Setting new goals, setting new resolutions, things they want to accomplish this year. All wonderful, great things. And we're here to help you out with that. So today we're going to talk about setting yourself up for success in the kitchen when it comes to any kind of nutritional, health and wellness goals, all that great stuff. So we've got a lot to talk about today, even more to cook today. I'm going to show you the way that I do a lot of my meal prepping. We're going to talk about kind of getting all your containers out and ready. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about batch cooking. We're going to try to make this as easy as possible for you. So I do have a lot of things to cover today. I've never presented this for anybody, so forgive me if it's a little all over the place, but we're going to do our best. Hopefully you got something to take away from this conversation. Okay? First thing you do in the kitchen, what do? Whatever you answered, probably correct. But preheat your oven. All right? Even if you don't know if you're going to need it, always helpful to do that very first thing. Wash your hands as well. Wash all your produce. All great answers as well. So today we're going to go through, like I said, a couple different things. My favorite meal prep meal that I do is a burrito bowl. We'll show you my version of that. And we're also going to show you how to batch cook a few different proteins, carbs, and veggies to kind of put together if you're not a big, eat the same thing every day kind of person. Show you some options for that as well. So in order to kind of keep relatively in the correct time domain, we're going to kind of go ahead and get things started, and I'll talk as I go. So first thing I did was peel some sweet potatoes, which we'll do that off screen. Also, sharpen your knife. That's a big thing here too. So we're gonna chop up some sweet potatoes. I like to do sweet potatoes on the weeklies. So peeled, that means we can do. You ever done a sweet potato bowl for breakfast? I'm pretty sure we've covered covered sweet potato bowls for breakfast on this channel here before. You might have to look back in the logs for that one. But sweet potatoes are super versatile. Like I said, we can eat those for breakfast. We can do them as a mash, or we can chop them up as we're doing here for some carbs. So I've got 4 sweet potatoes. That's going to last me for the week. I'm going to chop these up and pop those in the oven. These will need the longest amount of time. So meal prep tip number 1, start with whatever takes the longest. All right. So usually I'm going to pop these in there for about 30-35 minutes. And kind of as we go, hopefully there's a few things you pick up on, and I will try to impart as much wisdom to you as I possibly can. If you do have any questions, please feel free to shout them out at me. I'm not going to be looking at the screen the entire time, but I will be kind of checking every now and again. So if you write something in the chat, it's going to be a little bit more helpful for me just to yell it out. All right, we're all friends here. So feel free to do that. So while we're getting these sweet potatoes, I want to kind of go over another pro tip in the kitchen, especially when it comes to meal prep, is multitasking. I myself am not a huge multitask individual. Sometimes it's hard for me to talk and type at the same thing. The fact that I'm using a knife and talking to you at the same time, we'll see how this goes. We do have a whole sweet potato left. So just dicing these up in the process. If you're just jumping in, get some sweet potatoes going, starting with whatever takes the longest amount of time, and then we'll kind of work backwards as we go there. Chop off all those nasty bits. Great. So multitasking kind of talks about. So this, if you're a big kitchen tools, kitchen appliance, that's the word I'm looking for, kind of person, then meal prep should be right up your alley. You get to use all the tools, all the fun little gadgets. So we'll kind of go through a few today. I'm not going to use a whole bunch. Just kind of show you that world in case you are interested in you know how we go around here. It's always do the best that you can. Yeah. So doing the best that you can with what you have. So we're gonna get these sweet potatoes popped right in the oven. There's 2 sheets there, so I'm just gonna grab one. So I myself actually just put these in straight as is. So I know a lot of people will, do some olive oil, do some salt, pepper, some spices, or whatever. I put these straight in just because, in terms of like versatility, I will have them kind of plain ready to go. I don't want to put a bunch of olive oil and like salt and pepper and then make like a sweet potato breakfast bowl. So I kind of use them as is, and then we can kind of season them a little bit later as needed. All right, so at this point, I'm going to get my handy dandy rice cooker out. So I actually just made some rice the other day, and just for the sake of not wasting a whole bunch of food, I'm not going to make more rice. I am going to make some quinoa. All right, quinoa is really great. Again, we talk about versatility. You can also make a breakfast bowl out of quinoa. We do have a recipe on our Instagram about that. So I'm going to do 1 full cup of quinoa, and then we're going to come over into 2 cups of water. So just like rice, 1 to 2 on the quinoa. Nice thing, if you tuned into one of my old Friday morning fuels when we talked about rice, we talked about washing your rice. Quinoa, you don't actually have to wash rice or wash the quinoa. If you want to, go for it. Better safe than sorry, right? But just for the sake of time, I'm not. So cool. So we got this going. At this point, I also have a pressure cooker. Oh, this is on screen. This big old boy over here. I'm actually not going to use that today. We don't have any any chicken right now. But what I would do normally, like I said, anything that you can kind of just set it and forget it. All you 80s fans, that would be great. So I usually pressure cook some chicken. If you have a slow cooker, you can just toss some chicken in there, slow cook it. I'm a big fan of shredded chicken, so I'll just put it in there. Pressure cook it. It takes about 30 minutes or so. I'll usually do anywhere from like 4 pounds, 5 maybe. About my limit, about 5 pounds of chicken in there. Chicken breast, and we'll put in there about 30 minutes or so to pressure cook, and it's nice and shredded, and I'll kind of distribute that through a few different meals as well. So, like I said, those 2 things are going. Now I'm going to actually start some hard-boiled eggs. So great snack during the day. Just because we're meal prepping doesn't mean we have to actually prep all our meals. We also set ourselves up for success and prep our snacks. So I've got 7 eggs in here, so I'm going to do that. Everybody's got their own hard-boiled eggs little process, and I will go ahead and say it. Mine is not the #1 process. That is fine. My job here is I'm a realist. Am I a health coach? Absolutely. Am I a home chef? Arguable. But the one thing that's most important is that I'm a human, and time is important to me. So while I'm not super poshy with a lot of my processes, there's a middle ground that I like to shoot for between happy and healthy. Just it's not copyrighted, right? So, anyways, I put eggs in a pot. All right, I'm going to cover those eggs just with enough water to cover them, and I'm just going to crank that sucker up into medium-high heat. So basically, I'm just going to bring that to a boil, and I'm going to let that sit for like 10 or 15 minutes. I'll probably forget about it, but I've had overcooked eggs before. They're not terrible. I'll eat them. They're for snacks. It's fine. So we're just going to let that go. So again, at this point, if you're keeping score, we've got sweet potatoes in the oven. We've got some quinoa in the rice cooker. If you have a pressure cooker or a slow cooker, we have some chicken in there. We've got some eggs boiling away, and my hands are still free. I can do something else, okay? That's what we're going to do now. My main event for today, we're going to cook some beef. We're going to make some burrito bowls. So we've got a kind of a deep-walled pan on the side over here. I'm going to go ahead and start getting that kind of warmed up. All right, this is where my poshness comes in. Grass-fed ground beef, all right, #1 choice, Aldi's, big fan. Great price on there. They used to have a really good situation where it was like $4.60 a pound. We really stocked our freezer up. We had at one point, I think we had like 16 pounds of beef in our freezer, but we're making our way through it. So if you can find like the family packs at Aldi. If you're not a big ground beef person, sorry, that's your best choice. So, anyways, I'm gonna put 2 pounds of ground beef in here. I do want to also throw a disclaimer out that my meal sizes and portion control may not look like yours. Very likely they will not. So I am. My goal is to gain weight. So I'm a few pounds underweight. I do competitive strongman, so weight gaining is important for building muscle mass. Not everybody that wants to, gain muscle wants to gain mass. That's fine. That's your goal. Uh-oh. I got slippery hands. Anyways, so we're going to put some ground beef in the pan here. There we go. This is where all that strength comes in. Woo! What was I just talking about? All right, so 2 big pounds of ground beef. Like I said, that kind of big, deep-walled pan is really going to come in handy. Toss that right in the trash. Wash your hands. So we're going to let that kind of go for a little bit, kind of warm up, and we'll start to break that up and kind of toss in some extras. So while that's warming up, I will get to the vegetable prep. So we do like to stay busy, stay doing something. I do want to address meal prep just in general. Why do you want to meal prep, right? How long do you spend in the kitchen every night? Probably more than 30 minutes, right? Probably more than an hour. And then across the whole week at least. So if we can spend an hour, maybe 2 hours in one day, you're ready for the week. All right, you only have to do dishes one time, one day. Isn't that nice? So all these meal prep containers, dishwasher safe. Boom, there you go. Pots and pans, my least favorite thing to clean. So we're gonna make sure that we only have to do that one time. Anyways, ground beef, we're getting going. So you may have noticed also I did not pre-grease the pan. So the ground beef that I use is 85-15, 85% lean, 15% fat. So a lot of the fats, all the fat that's in that ground beef is kind of your greasing of the pan, like it's self-greasing. You may not agree with that. I've been doing it this way for 10 years. It's worked just fine. All my pans, great condition. So while that's cooking through, like I said, I'm going to prep some vegetables. This is everything that I'm going to throw into that ground beef. So we've got a zucchini, a little bit. This is kind of a small zucchini, so we're going to top and tail that guy. I like to get this zucchini kind of small in terms of like dicing it up. So I will take a bit of a small kind of dice as we go through. So we've got some zucchini, we've got some bell pepper, we have some onions we'll throw in there, and then of course some wonderful taco seasoning, which we'll put in there as well. We'll kind of push this all to the side. Again, this is kind of just some prep phase of the burrito bowl. The more that you can stay busy doing, the less time you're wasting. And like I said, more practice is going to come make this a little bit easier as well. So we're going to go through the rest of this zucchini. We'll throw that in a little bit more towards the end. One thing that is a very kind of a learned skill as you go through meal prep is it's like overcooking it. So you do want to be cautious of cooking things too much because you will be reheating most of your food, so which is more cooking time. Especially with the chicken, with the vegetables, like with the chicken can get really, really dry. So I usually tend to kind of cooked at a couple minutes less. Still cooked, mind you, still cooked, but a couple minutes short, just in case it does get really, really dry. Then you're kind of stuck with eating dry chicken for a week, and that's happened many, many times. So practice makes perfect, right? All right, so with our bell pepper, a little bit of color in there. I know there's a compost bin right here, in case you're just thinking I was throwing it on the ground. I was not. Ground beef stock into us a little bit. We'll mix this up. Make sure we kind of flip it around. Also, really enjoy cooking ground beef because it's super easy to know when it's done. And just kind of make all the pink and the red go away. Just make sure everything's brown and everything's kind of consistent. And then you're ready to go. So we'll let that keep going for a little while. We're going to finish chopping these up. So same deal as the zucchini. I'm going to just kind of dice these up. Through the years, I've learned a few different things about cooking. So one thing that is often underrated is the texture of your food. So my favorite part about the bell peppers is that they give that a little bit of crunch. So I usually, again, just like the zucchini, kind of throw that in towards the end, just to make sure it's still a little bit raw. I don't mind it kind of being warmed up is fine. You could also just take these as a separate thing and just kind of like top your bowl right before you eat it. If you like that as well. If you don't like cooked vegetables, anything like that. Just want to remind you, this is the way that I've done things. So if anything, please use this as a guide, not as a law to follow as you prep your own meals. So, all right, so we've got some beautiful colored vegetables ready to go for that burrito bowl. And we can kind of start thinking about what else we have going on today. I do want to kind of take a little pause and kind of call out two products that I found also from Aldi. So I'm a big Aldi shopper. So pasta. Everybody loves pasta, right? Can we all get behind that? Ooh, pasta. Great. But you may know wheat pasta is not necessarily the best for us. So we found two alternatives. We have red lentil pasta and chickpea pasta. So if you ever eaten lentils or chickpeas, a lot of great benefits from there, a lot of protein in there, a lot of fiber, which is something that we miss from just traditional pasta. So I've cooked these. They have a little bit more of that like al dente texture. But flavor-wise, you're not going to be able to distinguish, at least my palate is not able to distinguish from your kind of traditional wheat pasta. So just for kind of reference, the red lentil pasta here, you can see has 21 grams of protein in it. So that is right at what your meal recommended serving size of protein should be. And we've also got 5 grams of fiber in here. So you're still going to get a lot of carbs from this as well, of course. But the protein super, super high, good way to kind of balance it. And if you are vegan or if you do meatless Mondays as a kind of like a pseudo, not pseudo because that's fake, but like half vegetarian, if you're kind of mixing in more plant-based meals, two wonderful options to get your protein as well as still feel full. All right. So I would normally cook these. I don't know if I have enough meal prep containers, to be honest with you, so I just want to call those out. I'm not actually going to cook those right now. But I do, from time to time, I do like making like a pasta salad, in which I'll cook up a bunch of pasta. We'll put another bell pepper or something in there. We'll put some cucumbers, some oil, some vinegar, make a nice little kind of Italian seasoning. To kind of sprinkle over there, and it's all very, very wonderful and good. So while it's going, seems like a good time. I forgot about onion. We're going to put an onion in there. So we got a half of leftover onion from dinner last night. Cumin, just making whatever we have work. All right, so we're going to get this onion not not super small. I do like a little bit of taste of that onion in there. So we're just gonna kind of dice this like a super professional chef and get that ready to toss in. I'm actually gonna toss that in with the meat so that cooks down a little bit. I'm not a big fan of like raw onion taste. So we're gonna get that dice. Usually my cutting board is not that far away from the thing, so try not to throw a bunch of it on the ground. There we go. We made it. So just a half onion for me for 2 pounds of ground beef. Like I said, just want a little bit of that, and not making like, I don't know. I'm sure there's some like German dish that's just half meat, half onions. We're not making that. Great. Let's go on. So we've got a couple more minutes on the ground beef. Kind of said that before. If you've got a bigger pan, that's going to cook a little bit more evenly. So like if you have a 12-inch pan, I've been searching for a 12-inch pan for a while, so we don't have one yet. Normally that's what I would cook in here. So it's a little bit deeper, so we do have to kind of toss that around a little bit, kind of get everything coated. Great. At this point, I kind of check around, see how everything's doing. Water for the eggs is just about bubbling. Our quinoa looks pretty good. We're about done with that actually. And chicken would just be on a timer, and that would let me know when it's done. So while it's going, we're kind of getting relatively close to the end here. I'm going to start some vegetables, just steaming some vegetables. So a few different options. I've got some green beans. I've got some asparagus, and so we'll make both of these. I didn't want to do like a whole lot of prep, just so you can kind of see what the whole process looks like. But my asparagus, I am going to wash. All right, make sure that those are nice and rinsed. We kind of talked about this probably a few months ago at this point, that any kind of produce that you're taking in, you want to make sure that it's washed, all that kind of transportation yuckiness is off of it. Same thing for the green beans. I'm just going to put about half of those in my little colander here and rinse those off. So with the vegetables, your choice. Again, we kind of talked about batch cooking. If you want to cook these separately, by all means. I'm just going to cook them all together just because, you know, veggies are veggies. So we're going to need some. A little bit of variety in every dish. It doesn't hurt anyone. So I'm going to cut off the like real hard root ends of those asparagus. I've got a second pan here with a strainer in it. I'm going to fill this with water in the base, and again, I'm just going to kind of steam these vegetables. For me, that's the easiest way, and it's I don't want to say this is the tastiest way, but relatively tasty. You have some options there. So we're going to get that heated up and let that water kind of come to a little bit of a boil. And for our green beans, undecided if I want to do the whole asparagus, or if we want to kind of chop those up. I'm just going to cut the ends off the green beans, the little stringy parts. You can do every one individually if you like, but time and efficiency, we're just going to chop them up. If we get a few of them, that's fine. So we're gonna go in thirds on these. All game time decisions on those. So all those green beans, we're just gonna throw it in the strainer. And this is kind of what I was talking about before, especially with steaming vegetables. If these get a little bit too cooked, then we're in a little bit of trouble in terms of reheating those. So we do want to be cautious to kind of cook these even just under. So that way when you reheat it, it kind of comes up to a nice texture, not really like soggy, not a very pleasant experience. If you're not a big vegetable person, the last thing you want to do is just cook a bunch of soggy vegetables. Okay. If you got some broccoli, great time to put some broccoli. If you've got some cauliflower or something, you can pop those in the oven. A lot of great options. Kind of referred back is that this is a really great way to to train your multitasking, right? So we're right at 25 minutes in. I'm going to hold you for about another 5 if you've got the time, just so we can kind of finish up this beef, which, like I said, just because the amount of it is taking a little bit longer. But we'll get there just so I can show you kind of how I wrap everything up. But as those vegetables are going, I am going to do the asparagus the same way. So we're going to chop this up into a few different sections. And we'll throw that in as well. And give yourself some time. If you're cooking a few things that you haven't really, I'm not going to throw those parts in there. You don't need those. So if you're cooking a few things you don't have a lot of experience cooking, give yourself some trial and error. Give yourself some time to kind of experiment how long things take. That's the biggest thing. So like I said, I've been doing this for a number of years, so I kind of have a good idea of the timing of everything, when to put things on, when to take things off, et cetera, et cetera. Do I still mess up? 100%. Well, not 100% of the time, but I do. Confirm. I do mess up. And some things are just not as pleasant, but that's kind of the trade-off. You know, if we're looking to be efficient with our time, if we're looking to kind of get those meals ready for us, so we don't have to, resort to fast food, or we don't have to resort to other things, this is your method. Give yourself a little bit of space to kind of find out what makes sense. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and cover these vegetables. So usually those take about 10 minutes or so in my experience, from when you turn it on to when they're good. And like I said, that's cooked a little bit under. So if you are going to eat immediately after you've cooked this, I'd probably take the majority of them out and let like your one serving or what it may be stay on there for another couple of minutes. Just so you can get kind of that ideal texture. And that kind of goes with everything here, kind of showing you how to make it for meal prep, right? A couple minutes under, so when you reheat it, it kind of comes to that full flavor, if you will. Great. So our beef is just about done. So now I'm going to go ahead and season it, kind of toss everything else in, and we should be ready to plate in about 2 minutes. So, secret sauce right here, some taco seasoning. Got a big old jar of this because, like I said, we use this all the time. So we're going to put a very healthy serving of spice in there. We'll toss that around. I know you flavor experts, you're going to be like, you're supposed to like put in the water and then let it evaporate and whatever. We're putting it right on the beef. It's fine. So like I said, I kind of put it in towards the end of it versus kind of cooking it in the ground. And I'll tell you why. Usually you season your stuff before you cook it. Yes. I like to put it on at the end because I can see how much of it is flavored. Right? So because it's a good bit of ground beef, right? So if we put it on there and then mix it all up, and there's some dry spots, I know that kind of go back in there. I'm big on flavor. We like to enjoy the food that we eat. Meal prep gets a bad rap because a lot of time it's just like, it's just bland chicken. But no. You just over season it, and then you're fine. So we'll kind of let that go a couple more minutes. Like I said, now we'll kind of toss in all of our peppers and zucchini. It's dangerous. I'm just gonna go handfuls. That seems to make sense. All right, we'll put that in there, and we'll put that zucchini in there, and we should be just about ready to go. So our quinoa kind of clicked off a couple minutes ago. At this point, our chicken, should it be in the pressure cooker, be pretty much done as well. And I can kind of show you how we would start dividing up all of our containers here. So for me, we're gonna take our quinoa. All right, we've got our trusty little scoop. Again, that's with portion sizes a bit. My servings may be a little bit different than yours, which is totally fine. But just be cautious of how much you're putting in. It's one big kind of pro for meal prep is that portion control is going to be a lot easier. You just take one scoop and you put it through everything. Okay. So for example, that's a little too hot. We'll use safety. We'll grab here. All right. So I'm gonna take about a half cup or so of that quinoa, and we're just gonna pop it into each of these containers right on the end. All right. And again, yours may look a little bit different. The way that you want to separate it is going to be totally fine. We can also weigh these out if you're really into that. I just kind of find one measurement tool and then use that all the way through. So quinoa in half of them. At this point, like I said, if you got your chicken, we can put our chicken in half of them. I do have a little bit of rice like I talked about left over from the other week. So I can separate rice out into a few of these bowls. And again, if you like to batch cook, I probably should have warmed that up. But anyways, you get the idea. I would put some rice in there. It's a little bit firm. It's a little packed in there, so I'm just going to let it be. So, what I'm saying, batch cooking. So we could, like I said, I've laid out like 10 containers here. If you don't want to put the same thing in all 10 containers, that's fine. We could put quinoa in a couple of them. We could put rice in a couple of them. We could put sweet potatoes in a couple of them. We can mix and match with chicken. We can put some ground beef in some. We could put some vegetables in some. We could do, some chicken and a little salad, right? We could have a couple meal prep containers where we put our kind of greens or salad base in there. Another pro tip, I would not dress your salad until before you eat it, all right? You don't want a bunch of soggy greens. So get some little containers. So we have these little guys that you can put your olive oil, vinegar, whatever salad dressing you want. We'll shake up and then you can kind of dress right before you eat. Eggs are boiling. I'm going to turn that off. And again, just kind of let those sit. They're probably done. But that's pretty much where we are. So again, our taco bowl is done at this point. My rice would be in the bottom of all my bowls. And then I could do it backwards, but so you just take a big scoop, whatever it may be, you pop it in there. Boom, all the way across. Like I said, you can mix and match this as many different ways as you would like. I'm just going to do a scoop there. Turn that burner off. Make sure you turn those off. I'll throw my rice in there, a little cilantro on top, and then you pop that up, put it all in the fridge, and then you're pretty much ready to go. I know it kept you over a little bit of time, but that's kind of the essentials of meal prep, of batch cooking. I don't know if I really explained batch cooking well, but the idea is that you make a lot of food, right? A lot of different options of food, and you kind of just mix and match, right? Just kind of like your clothes, right? If you've got 5 different shirts, 5 different pants, that's whatever number, 300 something options of clothing. That math is probably very wrong, but you get the idea. So the same thing with batch cooking. You have your sweet potatoes, you have your 3 or 4 different carbs, you have your 3 or 4 different vegetables, and a couple different protein options, and then you just kind of mix and match, right? So kind of talk about being cautious with your seasoning, kind of thinking a bit ahead, and then you can always season at the end. Most people that meal prep are not going to be super about I need to make this the best food possible, because if you're thinking very specific, then you're cooking very specific, and that's not going to translate well to many different dishes. So just to kind of keep that in mind. Doesn't mean your food has to be boring, but in terms of, I watched this video yesterday about blooming your spices and toasting things before you cook with them. And it really melds the flavors together well. So those kind of things are maybe not going to be what you achieve with meal prep. Maybe you can. You tell me how. But anyways, So that's the basis of it. Of course, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Hopefully, this has been a very learning experience for you. We are here next month, first Friday of every month. So until then, feel free to hop on over to Power Up Fuel on Teams. Let's start a conversation and let's get you the information that you need. All right, folks, I've been Coach Matt, your wellness coordinator for your Exos team. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you next time. See you.